Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, I Caught My Pregnant Fiancée Cheating with Snapchat. And a big shout out to Philip for sending me this story. And guys, this story is all about a guy who handles things like a boss, ultimately handles things like a boss, when his fiancée started this whole big drama fest at a steakhouse accusing him of cheating, which led to him having the common sense that I'm going to go through her phone. And lo and behold, through various techniques, got all the evidence he needed and handled like a boss. And you're going to see even going so far as having a very good ending with regards to the police and her and all that. But I'm not going to reveal that detail in the beginning. Here's the thing, though. This woman is about 15 years younger than him, I believe, a former model, and just like the 9s and 10s are usually models, brought along a whole lot of drama. And for years, had a lot of red flags and bad behavior, and yet he was still with her. So this guy was a bonehead in many ways getting involved with her. And this is why I tell you guys, as you're going to see in the story, because we always do education here. You're a relationship guy, fine. Don't get in a relationship, let alone marry 9s and 10s, especially former models, because they're not relationship material. The egos are in the stratosphere, particularly nowadays with the bombardment of attention and validation they get online and all that. I mean, social media, like I said, has unleashed the narcissist in most people, sadly, and you're going to be dealing with a whole lot of drama, amongst all sorts of other red flags of constantly craving attention and validation and disrespect and all that. And also, the lesson you're going to see here is this, guys, that cheaters, since they're cheaters generally think that everybody else is a cheater. And so you're going to be accused by them and all that, and that's always a giant red flag. So this is a pretty entertaining one, so definitely take a moment, grab your beer or your popcorn, and definitely kick back. You will definitely like this story I'm about to share. It says, this was a few years back, and at the time I was 48 years old and she was 34. We'd been living together for some time, and her 13-year-old daughter also lived with us. You got involved with a single MOM, smack. 34 years old, you said, and for some time. So probably you got together when she was around 30, which meant she was looking for her nice guy provider then, take care of her and her brat kid. Shocker. She was pregnant with my son, but in the first trimester. Now, there were plenty of red flags along the way. She was pretty conceited and required a lot of validation. Then why the hell are you with her? In her early years, she was a published model, nothing huge, just stuff like FHM and Maxim, and assorted local magazines and such. So, if she was a model for those things, I'm guessing at the very least, in the looks and body type department, most guys would consider her to be an 8, but probably a 9 or a 10. Guys, I've said this countless times, 9s and 10s are not relationship material, let alone marriage material. They are hookup material. 8s, depending, case by case basis. But the relationship marriage material are 6s and 7. Cute, pretty good looking, but they're not going to have as much of the ego being conceited, all that. Although a lot do nowadays, it's pretty amazing. But they get that from guys kissing their butts and giving them attention. But also, right here, requires lots of validation. He's learning, or he will learn. Well, on to how she got caught. I, along with one of my sons from a previous marriage, was meeting for lunch at a local steakhouse. I let her, we'll call her Jay for ease here. Well, I told Jay that Jay's this woman. Well, I told Jay that my son and I would be having lunch and told her she was welcome to join us. She happily agreed along with her daughter. We met at the restaurant at the prescribed time. Jay and her teen daughter were both giving me the stink eye as they arrived. Okay. I could feel tension in the air. We were seated and ordered drinks. I was trying to make small talk. Jay was seated across the table rather than next to me, and she was glaring at me. So this dude was going to have lunch with his son. Invited her and her daughter along. Okay, come along. And now they get there, and he and his son were going to have a good time, and there they are, pissed off, glaring at him, all that. Clearly I did nothing wrong, sugar muffin. So either lose the attitude and the stink eye, or get the fuck out of here, and I'm going to go enjoy my Outback lunch with my son here. Finally, with the urging of her daughter, she asked, "Is there something you'd like to tell me?" I was looking at her over and her daughter, and their body language is telling the story. They're probably sitting there with their arms folded, pissed off. They thought they had some smoking gun and were employing all the dramatics. The problem was I had nothing to confess, and now I had to pry their suspicions out of them. For some quick background here, big red flag, he says, she had on more than one occasion accused me of being unfaithful. So many times cheaters think that everybody's like that, and therefore they then assume that and then make accusations because they're cheating. So you see what I mean? It simply was not true. I mean, this is one of these women who might have had a dream, and if you will be punished in the morning, it was bad. Okay, you had a dream about another woman, and that's it, and she may be bad. Well, anyway, she is repeating her question. I cut her off. I told her to tell me what her last accusation was going to be, and I'll let her know if I was pretty tired of this behavior, and she was making her future seem impossible. Dude, if she has a history of this bullshit, why the hell are you with her? I'll tell you why. He's 48, she's 34, former model. I'm sure she still looks good, but she's not done looking nearly as good when she was in her 20s, but still looks good. He thought he got a prize. Well, newsflash, she ain't no prize. This shocked her a bit, so she demanded to see my phone. I happily obliged, and she searched it over and over, going through every text and finally opening up my Snapchat app. Then turning the phone so everyone could see the app. She seemed triumphant in this and demanded I explain myself. I must have looked bewildered as I sat there, blinking and wondering how this meant anything at all. Where's your son? Remember he was going to meet his son. Either he came in with his son or his son's going to meet them, whatever. I would have walked out. Jay went on a dissertation about how Snapchat was for cheating and I had no business having an account. Well, I don't know why he has an account either, to be honest. Her daughter, you see, discovered that I had the account, or so anyway, I'm still blinking, and have added subtle head shaking to my response. She, feeling she had me cornered, demanded I explain myself. She was being especially dramatic and drawing attention to our table with her theatrics. Again, you know what? Smack. I should have smacked him a lot for being involved with this broad, but it's Sunday. I'm off for my smacking powers. While you're with her and let it go, she's starting all this drama. You haven't done anything wrong. You should have gotten up and left. She's making a big goddamn scene. I suggested calmly she peruse my contacts and tell me who I'm having an illicit affair with. She obliged me, and she definitely navigated Snap like a veteran, ultimately finding no contacts or posts of any kind. As a bit of background here, I am a security engineer, and many of my clients are educational institutions from kindergarten through 12th grade, community colleges, to universities, including some Ivy League and international business schools. I have accounts for pretty much every social networking app there is. It is for work. It often falls to me to ensure they work, or they are mettered or outright blocked on various campuses depending on the age group of the attendees. So yes, I have these apps because it really is convenient just to whip out a tablet and phone to test my work. Okay, so this is for work. End of story. Now it's interesting that she's throwing a little fucking temper tantrum in the Outback Steakhouse over this whole thing, and she ought to know darn well what he does for a living, but you know what, I don't think she cares what he does for a living as long as he brings a paycheck. But she's looking for an excuse, and that can justify her actions, which you're soon about to see. Now my son knew this, and he burst out laughing at the accusation and the ignorance of her assumption. Before I could say a word to diffuse the situation, he jumped in and set her straight. I calmed him down, and we both chuckled at it. So the son has more balls than the dad here. The son's putting his, unfortunately, soon-to-be stepmother in her place, and her C-U-N-T daughter. Well, they're both C-U-N-T S's. Jay and her daughter weren't convinced and pressed only to be silenced as I raised my hand in a gesture for the check. I told her I invited her here for a nice lunch, and she and her daughter have ruined it over crazy accusations. Good for you, dude. As I was leaving, they ruined the meal. And when I got home, we could address her concerns privately and calmly. After paying the bill, I got up and my son and I began leaving. She got pretty pissed off, and she followed out yelling and we aren't through the conversation. Dude, she's an a-hole, of course. But you know what? You're an a-hole for being involved with this woman. You can't tell me she didn't behave like this prior, starting scenes and stuff in public like a fucking child. And you said has a history of accusing you things and being conceited and loving a lot of validation. You can't tell me she's on freaking Instagram and other social media apps getting attention all the time. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'll tell you what's wrong. He makes good money and he's with this good-looking woman much younger than him and thought he got a prize. Wrong. In the parking lot, I demanded she let me go through her phone. She shrieked that I wasn't going to make this about her, that I needed to answer her questions. Bitch, I answered your questions. I showed you my phone. I told you I do this for work. I pointed that both her and her daughter have the app, and they are saying that it's for cheaters, and I want to view them now. Aha. They both went white, and she repeated that I'm not going to blame shift. It takes one to know one. I responded by saying that either she let me view her phone or she packed her things and we were through. There you go. Why do you think she's with you, dude? Because obviously you can provide a living for her and her a-hole daughter. She turned on the waterworks and began crying that she was pregnant with my child, and how dare I accuse her of anything. Turn on the waterworks, huh? Hobag Handbook Chapter 2. Her daughter screaming while my son just smirked and taunted them both. I like his son. I instructed my son to make sure they didn't do anything in my house, and I had to go back to work and left. My son was 17 years old and a senior in high school. The school year had just ended, so I let him drive one of my cars, and he raced them to the house and got there first, according to him, taking the better spot in the garage. My son said they spent the next hour or more locked upstairs in the daughter's room, and when she came out, Jay was trying to act like everything was okay and asked my son what he wanted for dinner. What I want for dinner is you to get the fuck out of my dad's house and his life. What do you think they were doing locked away in the daughter's room? 3 guesses. In fact, 1 guess. I know what they were doing. They were going through her phone and deleting all evidence of indiscretions. I'm sure it will not surprise anyone, but when I got home, Jay apologized for her outburst and promised it was just hormones, that she will never treat me like that again, and then handed me her phone and said I was allowed to look at any time I wanted. Interesting that you were willing to let me look through your phone now and not 3 hours ago in the parking lot of Outback Steakhouse when you're throwing a goddamn temper tantrum. And I don't want to hear is the hormones. I'm sure the hormones are there. I mean, anybody carrying a little human being in their stomach, okay, fair enough, but still, That she trusts me and wants me to trust her. Yeah, okay. I went to my home office and set the phone on my desk, logged into my personal computer, and checked my email. She was hovering and asked if I was going to look at it. I said I wouldn't a bit, but had to wrap up a couple things, and then I asked if she needed it right away. She smiled and said, take your time. Yeah, she wiped her phone, and then she probably told all her friends and lovers, okay, don't message me for like 4 hours or something like that, because he's got to go through my phone. I got to fool him. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a security engineer. As soon as I left, I looked at her phone that had been factory reset and had a couple dozen sub 1 minute calls to assorted friends and some banter text messages from a few of her friends. Shockingly, all of them in the last few hours appeared that the phone had been used regularly. So I installed a Big Brother app on her phone and put it in the same spot on my desk. Sweet, bro. She's actually dumb enough to think a security guy like you that handles these types of things isn't going to be able to, So maybe 30 minutes later, she came in and checked on me. The phone was sitting there, seemingly untouched, and she asked if I'd gone through it. I told her no, I was still working, but she could take it if she liked. I'm just too busy right now to go through it. She's like, okay, dumbass. Well, to cut to the chase, I monitored her activities closely for the next few weeks, and yes, she was cheating. Worse, with more than one guy. There's a fucking surprise. See? Cheaters assume everybody else is a cheater, and they also want to justify their actions, so, making accusations and all that type of thing. Big surprise there. But dude, you're the fool for getting involved with her in the first place and staying with her when she's been showing her true colors for years. Again, you don't get 9s and 10s and former models are relationship material. They are hookup materials. They're love them and leave them. That's it. Because otherwise, you're going to get, in varying degrees, BS like this. Who knows what he was thinking? You want a relationship? Get a girl that's a 6 or a 7. That's, cute, kind of pretty, pretty, but not hot. And it's going to be more appreciative to have you and all that. But even be careful in the 6 and 7. Fuck, you got to be careful with the 2s nowadays. Where did I leave off? So I confronted her with the evidence, for which she called the police on me for violating her privacy. The police came and she put on quite the show. I showed them that I paid for the phones and the house was in my name only. Nice, bro. But of course he paid for her phone. She was given a warning by the police. I told her she needed to pack up and she tried to use SEX to change my mind. See? That's her only tool she has. So I rebuffed her attempts and let her know the very idea was revolting to me. I moved her things into a guest room, let her know she needed to find a place to live, and suggested she ask one of her many boyfriends. A couple days later, she threatened me with an unloaded revolver on which my neighbor witnessed. The police were called again, and she was taken away in handcuffs. I guess I should have said it already. You all know the hot crazy scale or the crazy hot scale. There you go. Bad enough that she threatened him with, I gotta watch what I say, a revolver. But the neighbors saw it. We never did get married, but before my baby son was 1 year old, I was the custodial parent, and 2 years later, her parental rights were revoked. She isn't allowed anywhere near us. Well, that's great, man. But I'm sorry for your kid being born of that Medusa. That wasn't cheap, though. It cost me over $300,000, but while painful, well worth it to ensure my son had every opportunity for a good life. The sister has tried to connect a couple times with no result. $300,000. So this guy obviously makes a lot of money, has a high net worth. You know what I mean? $300,000. And yeah, I'm sure it was worth every penny to get rid of her. But you were the dumb fuck that got involved with her in the first place. You had to know she was with you only for what you could provide. And you put up with all her shit that long. If she hadn't gotten pregnant, I guarantee it wouldn't have cost you $300,000. But that was her insurance policy. But now you got the kid. But I can only imagine all the drama you went through. There was a lot more drama on her part. Shocker. To be sure, but these stories have to be kept in a reasonable length. Dude, we want to hear the drama from her. I'll add one thing though. Jay never broke my heart because I just couldn't give it to her. I was only going to marry her because of the baby. Well, that's why she got pregnant. And how do you know that's your baby? There's a question. And by the way, just because she's pregnant with your child, and if that's your child, you have to take care of it, doesn't mean you got to fucking marry her. What kind of old school bullshit is that? But she knew you'd do it. Yes, this is a bad idea, but I'm old-fashioned and one of my sons grew up in an intact home. Does it sound like an intact, happy home to you, being married to her, with all her craziness? Doesn't sound intact to me. Lastly, before anyone asks, the court ordered paternity test on day 1, and he is mine. Okay, well, I'm glad he's yours. Okay, because I know you'd be heartbroken about that. So anyhow, guys, hot, crazy scale. You cut them off in the beginning, they start showing BS. Cheaters always think everybody else is a cheater, etc., etc. But this guy handled it like a boss eventually. Catching her and all that. And I love the fact she was taken away in cuffs. And I love how he put that app on her phone, that security thing, and had all the proof there. Holy crap. So guys, remember, in the future, you dating relationship guys, the 9s and 10s, the former models, and those types, they're hookups and friends with benefits, nothing more. In today's world, with the bombardment of attention they get round the clock all the time from dudes all over the world, and how social media has unleashed the narcissist in everyone, let's be honest, nowadays, or most people, you don't need that type of crap. Like I said, you can do relationships, fine. Go in there with the knowledge you've gained over the years from channels like mine, and stick to the 6s and 7s and the 8s, case-by-case basis on the 8s. They can be good, they can cute, pretty good looking, that type of thing. And they'll be much more appreciative. But even then, you got to watch out. So that's what I think about that. So I wish this guy the best. But in the future, sir, you got to do a lot more screening and be practical about who you get involved with here. Good Lord. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you find a great story like to share, email me, strongsuccessfulmail@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.